You should really think about settling down soon. My Aunt Patricia said it while refilling her wine glass, her tone suggesting she was doing me a favor. Time doesn't wait, you know. Look at your cousin Amanda, 2 kids already, and she's younger than you. The words landed in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner like stones dropped into still water. My mother's fork paused. My father cleared his throat. Amanda smiled into her plate. That small smile of someone who's won a competition they didn't know they'd entered. I looked at the turkey growing cold on my plate and felt something shift. Not anger, not even hurt anymore. Just a quiet, final understanding that I'd been performing in a play where everyone else had the script but me. My name is Claire. I'm 35 and I've spent most of my adult life as the family ? The one who didn't follow the expected path, didn't check the boxes that made sense to everyone else, didn't arrive at milestones on their timeline. On paper, I should have been the easy one. Good student, responsible employee, financially stable. But I made the mistake of choosing a career that couldn't be explained at holiday dinners. I'm a medical illustrator creating detailed anatomical drawings for textbooks and surgical guides. It's specific, it's essential, and to my family, it sounds like a hobby I haven't outgrown. My cousin Amanda, 2 years younger, had always been easier to celebrate. She'd done everything in order: college, engagement, marriage, house, first baby, second baby. Each milestone documented, praised, held up as evidence that she understood how life worked. I wasn't jealous of her choices. I just wished mine didn't always feel like failures by comparison. The comparison started early and never really stopped. They came wrapped in concern, disguised as questions, delivered with that particular kind of care that feels like criticism with better manners. Still single? Still renting? Still working on those drawings. I'd learned to deflect, to change the subject, to make myself smaller so the discomfort wouldn't linger. But deflection has a cost. Every time I shrank, every time I let a comment pass, I taught them that my boundaries were negotiable. The real shift started 6 months before that Thanksgiving. I'd been commissioned for a major project, a comprehensive anatomy atlas for a prestigious medical school, the kind of work that would take 2 years and fundamentally change my career trajectory. The advance alone was more than I'd made in the previous 3 years combined. I didn't tell my family right away. I'd learned that sharing good news often meant watching it get translated into terms that made sense to them, which usually meant diminishing it until it fit their understanding of what success should look like. But the money changed things in quiet ways. I paid off my student loans in one transfer, opened an investment account, started looking at condos instead of rental listings. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't scrambling. I was building. I met James during this period. He was a surgeon, someone who understood the value of precise work, who looked at my illustrations not as pretty pictures but as essential tools. He didn't ask when I'd get a real job, he asked about technique, about the decision-making process, about what I was learning. We moved in together after 6 months. Not because anyone was pushing us, not because it checked a box, but because it made sense to us. His apartment had better light for my workspace. My kitchen had better equipment for his cooking. We built something that worked without announcing it, without asking permission. The condo came next. A small 2-bedroom in a neighborhood I loved, with hardwood floors and a window that caught the afternoon sun. The second bedroom became my studio. I worked there every day, surrounded by books and reference materials and the quiet satisfaction of doing exactly what I was good at. I didn't invite my family to see it. Not to punish them, not to make a point. I just wanted one space in my life that existed without their measurements, without their questions about when I'd do the next thing or why I hadn't done the previous thing. But somehow, through the grapevine of family gossip, they found out about the condo, about James, about the project. And that's when the questions started coming faster, sharper, wrapped in curiosity that felt more like inventory. My mother called first. "You bought a place? Why didn't you tell us?" Her voice carried that particular hurt of someone who'd been excluded from a decision that wasn't theirs to make. My Aunt Patricia texted, "Heard you're living with someone. When do we get to meet him?" As if James existed for their approval. As if our relationship was incomplete until they'd weighed in. Amanda sent a message that tried for casual and landed on pointed. "Mom said you bought a condo. Must be nice to have that kind of money." As if my financial stability was luck rather than years of careful work and delayed gratification. I kept my answers brief. "Yes, bought a place. James is great. Maybe sometime. Been saving for a while." But brevity felt like withholding. And withholding felt like I was doing something wrong, even though I knew I wasn't. The Thanksgiving invitation came with an undercurrent I recognized. Not quite a demand, not quite a guilt trip, but something in between. "We haven't seen you in so long. It would be nice if you came." Amanda's bringing the kids. I went because I wanted to believe it might be different. Because despite everything, some part of me still wanted to belong to them. Because I hadn't yet learned that showing up sometimes means stepping back into a version of yourself you've outgrown. The dinner was exactly what I should have expected. Amanda's children at the kids' table, her husband carving the turkey, her mother-in-law offering to watch the kids so Amanda could have a break. Every woman's role clearly defined, clearly understood. I sat between my mother and my aunt. My father at the head of the table, James beside me, quiet and observant in the way that meant he was cataloging everything for later. The meal progressed through the usual rhythms. Food passed, compliments given, stories told. Amanda talked about preschool logistics and soccer schedules. My aunt shared updates about her garden. My mother mentioned a book club she'd started. No one asked about my work. No one mentioned the condo. No one acknowledged James beyond the initial hello. Then Patricia refilled her wine glass and delivered her assessment. You should really think about settling down soon. Time doesn't wait, you know. Look at your cousin Amanda, 2 kids already, and she's younger than you. The table went quiet in that particular way that means everyone heard. But no one wants to acknowledge what was said. Amanda looked pleased. My mother looked uncomfortable but said nothing. My father studied his plate with sudden intensity. I set down my fork. Not dramatically, not angrily. Just a simple gesture that bought me a moment to decide who I wanted to be in this conversation. For years, I would have deflected, made a joke, changed the subject, made myself smaller so the moment could pass. But sitting there, in a room full of people who'd watched me succeed quietly and never once asked what that success felt like, I realized something. I wasn't behind. I'd been running a different race entirely. And I was winning it. I am settled, I said. My voice was calm, measured. I have a career I love, a home I own, a partner who respects me, and a life I built on purpose. Patricia blinked, her wine glass halfway to her mouth. Well, yes, but I know what you meant, I continued. You meant I should have what Amanda has. A husband, children, a life that looks like yours. But I don't want what Amanda has. I want what I have. My mother shifted in her seat. Claire, that's not what she meant. She's just saying that my life doesn't count unless it looks like the life you understand. I finished. That at 35, I'm somehow failing because I chose my own timeline instead of yours. Amanda's smile had faded. Her husband looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. James's hand found mine under the table, a silent anchor. I've spent my entire adult life listening to what I should do when I should do it. And why my choices don't measure up, I said. I've been compared to Amanda so many times I stopped counting. But here's what none of you know. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and turned the screen toward Patricia. The email was from the medical school, confirming the completion of Phase 1 of the Anatomy Atlas. The payment amount was visible. $127,000. That's what my drawings earned me this year, I said. For one project. I have 3 more lined up. I swiped to the next email. This one from my mortgage company. That's my condo. Paid in full. No mortgage. I'm 35 and I own my home outright. Another swipe. A photo of my studio, filled with specialized equipment, custom lighting, ergonomic furniture. That's where I work. I built it exactly the way I needed it because I could afford to. I looked at Amanda, not unkindly. I'm happy for you. I really am. You build a life that makes you happy and that's beautiful. But I built one too. It just doesn't look like yours. Patricia's face had gone still. My mother was crying quietly. My father finally looked up. I didn't come here to be compared, I said. I didn't come here to be measured against a timeline that has nothing to do with my life. I came because I thought maybe, just once, you'd see me for who I am instead of who you think I should be. I stood, reaching for my coat. James and I are leaving. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm done apologizing for my life. James stood with me, his hand steady on my back. As we moved toward the door, Amanda spoke for the first time. Claire, wait, I turned. She was standing now, something uncertain in her expression. I didn't know, she said quietly. About your work. About any of it. No one ever really talks about what you do. I know, I said. That's the problem. We left through the front door into the cold November evening. The air smelled like wood smoke and wet leaves. In the car, James was quiet for a long moment. How do you feel? He finally asked. I thought about it. About the years of small diminishments, the constant comparisons. The way I'd learned to make myself less so others could feel more. About walking away from that. Free, I said. I feel free. The fallout came in stages. My mother called the next day, her voice careful. Maybe we should have asked more about your work. About your life, not an apology, exactly. But an opening. My aunt sent a text a week later. Brief, uncomfortable. I didn't mean to minimize your accomplishments. Amanda waited longer. When she finally reached out, it wasn't to defend herself or make excuses. Can we have coffee, just us? I want to understand what I don't know. I said yes. Not because I needed to rebuild that relationship, but because she'd asked in a way that felt genuine. We met at a cafe near my condo. She looked tired in a way I'd never noticed before. The kind of tired that comes from living someone else's expectations while pretending they're your own. I've been thinking about what you said, she started. About building the life you want versus the life people expect. I waited. I love my kids, she said. But sometimes I wonder if I rushed into this because it was what everyone wanted. What I was supposed to want. Do you regret it? I asked. No, she said, but there was a pause before the word that made it complicated. But I envy how clearly you know what you want. How you built it anyway, even when no one understood. We talked for 2 hours. About choices and expectations. About the invisible weight of living up to other people's definitions of success. She told me about the parts of her life she loved and the parts she endured. I told her about the years of feeling invisible despite being right there. When we left, something had shifted between us. Not back to how it was, but forward into something more honest. My relationship with my family didn't heal overnight. It reshaped slowly, carefully, into something with clearer boundaries and less assumption. I learned to share my successes without waiting for permission to be proud. They learned to ask questions instead of making assessments. James and I got married the following spring. A small ceremony, just the people who'd shown up for us all along. My family wasn't there. Not out of spite, but out of choice. That day was ours, and we wanted to share it with people who celebrated us without conditions. My mother cried when I told her. Not because she was invited and said no, but because she understood what it meant that she wasn't invited at all. A year later, I finished the Anatomy Atlas. It was published with my name on the cover, distributed to medical schools across the country. My work teaching future surgeons, contributing to medicine in a way that was mine alone. Patricia saw it mentioned in a medical journal of all places. She sent a message. I saw your book. I didn't realize it was this important. I didn't respond right away. When I did, I kept it simple. It always was. You just weren't paying attention. Now, 2 years after that Thanksgiving, I live in a life I built deliberately. I work every day on projects that matter with people who respect what I do. James and I are talking about maybe adopting a dog, maybe traveling more, maybe expanding my studio. We're not talking about timelines or expectations or what we should do next. We're talking about what we want. And that difference, that small shift in language, changes everything. I see Amanda occasionally. We text more now than we used to. Last month, she mentioned thinking about going back to school. I know it sounds crazy, she said. To kids, full-time job, and I want to add college to that. It sounds brave, I told her. Do it. My family still doesn't fully understand what I do, but they've stopped treating my choices like failures waiting to be corrected. It's not perfect, but it's honest. And honest is enough. If the story feels familiar. If you've been measured against someone else's timeline. If you've been told your success doesn't count because it doesn't look right. Know this, you're not behind. You're not failing. You're running your own race. And the only person who needs to understand that race is you. The people who love you will learn to see it. The ones who won't were never really looking at you anyway. And recognizing that difference, choosing yourself anyway, that's not selfish. That's survival. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is simply refuse to apologize for the life you've chosen. That dinner, that moment when I stopped shrinking, didn't destroy my family. It just showed me exactly where I stood when I finally stood tall. And from that height, I could finally see the life I'd built. It was exactly what I wanted it to be.